Welcome back to English Plus Podcast. I'm Danny, your coach, and this is part 2 of our special series, The AI Horizon. Yesterday, we looked at the big picture, the singularity, the math of exponential growth, the idea that we are rushing toward a future we can barely comprehend. We talked about the hardware of the future. Today, we're going to talk about the heart of the future. For centuries, we humans have told ourselves a very comforting story. We said, okay, machines are good at math. They're good at lifting heavy things. They're good at repetitive tasks, but they will never be creative. We believed that creativity was a magic spark, a divine gift found only in the biological wetware of the human brain. We thought that poetry, painting, music, and storytelling were the final fortress of humanity, the one place machines could not touch. Well, in 2022, that fortress didn't just crack, it collapsed. We watched an AI program called Midjourney win a fine art competition in Colorado, beating human painters who had spent weeks on their canvases. We watched ChatGPT write sonnets in the style of Shakespeare in 3 seconds. We listened to songs sung by the voices of dead artists resurrected by code. And suddenly, every artist, writer, designer, and architect on Earth asked the same terrifying question. Am I obsolete? Today we're going to answer that question. We're going to strip away the hype and the fear and look at the mechanics of what is actually happening. We're going to look at the ethics. Is this theft or is it evolution? And most importantly, I'm going to introduce you to a concept that might save your career and your sanity. The centaur. If you are a creative person or if you just love art, this episode is for you. Let's walk into the studio of the future. I'm Danny, and this is the coach from English Plus Podcast. First, we need to demystify the ghost in the machine. When you type a prompt into ChatGPT like write a funny story about a cat in space, or you ask Midjourney for a cyberpunk city in the style of Van Gogh, it feels like magic. It feels like there is a tiny, brilliant artist living inside the server. But it isn't magic. It is math. Very, very expensive math. To understand the future of creativity, you have to understand 2 concepts: large language models, LLMs, and latent space. And I promise I will keep this simple, no code required. Now let's talk about the stochastic parrot. Imagine you have a parrot. Now, this is a very special parrot. It has perfect memory. You put this parrot in a room, and for 20 years, you read it every book in the Library of Congress. You read it every website, every Reddit thread, every Wikipedia article. The parrot memorized the sounds. It learns that usually when someone says once upon a, the next word is time. It learns that rose is often associated with red or thorn. Now, if you ask the parrot a question, it can answer you. But does the parrot understand what it is saying? No. It is simply predicting the most likely next sound based on the billions of examples it has heard. This is essentially what generative AI is. It is a prediction engine. When ChatGPT writes a poem, it isn't feeling emotion. It is calculating probability. It is saying, based on my training data, which word has the highest statistical probability of coming next. And now let's talk about the latent space, or the blender of concepts. Let's talk about images, because this is where it gets really trippy. How does an AI create a picture of a dog playing poker on the moon if it has never seen that picture before? It uses something called latent space. Imagine a massive multi-dimensional map. In this map, concepts that are similar are grouped together. Dog is close to wolf and bone. Moon is close to space, crater, and stars. Poker is close to cards and chips. The AI has been trained on billions of images from the internet. It has mapped where all these concepts sit in this mathematical space. When you give it a prompt, You are essentially giving it coordinates. You are saying, go to the point on the map where dog, poker, and moon intersect, and show me what is there. It isn't drawing the way a human draws, line by line, thinking about composition. It is denoising. It starts with a screen of static, which is random noise, and it slowly refines that noise, looking for the pattern that matches your coordinates. Does this pixel look like a dog? No. Change it. How about now? Yes. It does this millions of times per second. Now, why does this matter? Because it explains why AI is so good at mimicking style, but sometimes struggles with logic, like giving people 6 fingers. It doesn't know what a hand is. It just knows what a hand looks like in a picture. It mimics the surface, not the substance. Understanding this removes the mystical fear. It is not a god. It is a blender. It takes everything humans have ever created, throws it in a blender, and pours out a new smoothie based on your order. But this leads us directly to the biggest controversy of our time. If the AI is using everything humans have ever created to make this smoothie, did it ask for permission? Let's get real. If we walk into a museum, take a photo of a Picasso painting, print it out, and sell it as my own, I go to jail. That is copyright infringement. But what if I go to the museum, stare at the Picasso for 3 hours, go home and paint something that looks like a Picasso, but is different? That is called inspiration. That is legal. In fact, that is how every artist learns. We copy the masters until we find our own voice. So what is the AI doing? Is it the thief or is it the student? This is the billion-dollar legal battle happening right now. Companies like OpenAI or ChatGPT, Midjourney, and Stability AI scraped the entire internet to train their models. They took copyrighted books, news articles from the New York Times, paintings from ArtStation, and photos from Getty Images. They fed it all into the parrot. They did not pay the artists. They did not ask for consent. Now, artists are furious, and rightfully so. Imagine you spend 20 years developing a unique illustration style. It is your signature. It is how you feed your family. Suddenly, someone types your name into a prompt and goes like draw warrior in the style of your name, and the machine spits out 500 images that look exactly like your work in seconds for free. You have been cloned. The machine ingested your life's work and is now competing against you using your own style. There are currently class action lawsuits arguing that this is the greatest copyright theft in history. They argue that these AI companies are built on stolen data. Now, the AI companies argue that this is fair use. They say, we aren't storing copies of your images. The AI doesn't have a JPEG of your painting in its database. It just learned the mathematical patterns of your style. It learned from you, just like a human art student learns from you. They argue that if we make it illegal for AI to learn from public data, we will stop progress. They say that style cannot be copyrighted. You can copyright a specific picture of Mickey Mouse, but you cannot copyright the concept of a mouse with big ears. Now, I'm going to give you my coach's perspective on this. Now, legally, the courts will decide, and it will take years. But practically, the cat is out of the bag. Even if the New York Times wins its lawsuit against OpenAI, the technology exists. You cannot uninvent this. Open source models are already out there that anyone can run on their home computer. We are entering a world where execution is cheap. In the past, having a great idea was easy, but executing it was hard. You needed to learn to paint or hire a painter. You needed to learn to code or hire a developer. Now execution is near instant. The barrier to entry has dropped to zero. This brings us to the crisis of value. If anyone can create a masterpiece in 10 seconds, is it still a masterpiece? And now let's move on to our next section and talk about the glut, when content becomes infinite. We need to talk about the tsunami of slob. Now, because generative AI is so fast and so cheap, the internet is being flooded with AI-generated content. Amazon is full of AI-written books. Spotify is getting 100,000 new tracks a day. Many of them are AI generated. Social media is full of AI influencers who don't even exist. Well, this creates two massive problems for us as a society and for you as an individual. The first one is the signal to noise ratio. Finding human connection is going to get harder. When you read an email, you will wonder, did a human write this? When you see a photo of a war zone, you will wonder, is this real? We're going to develop a validity fatigue. We will be tired of guessing what is real. Now, this might actually make verified human art more valuable. We might see a return to acoustic culture, live performances, handwritten notes, things that cannot be faked. Now, just like we pay extra for organic tomatoes, we will pay extra for organic art. Number 2, the demotivation of the learner. Well, this is the one that worries me the most as a coach. If you are a 12-year-old kid today and you want to learn to draw digital art, you face a tough choice. You can spend 10,000 hours practicing hand anatomy, perspective, and lighting. It will be hard. You will make bad art for years until you get good. Or you can type a prompt and get a perfect image immediately. Why learn this skill if the machine can do it better? This is the calculator trap. We stop learning mental arithmetic because of calculators. Will we stop learning to write or draw? The danger is that if we stop learning the process, we lose the critical thinking that comes with it. Writing isn't just putting words on paper. Writing is thinking. Drawing is seeing. If we outsource the process, we outsource the thinking. So, is it hopeless? Should we all just give up and let the robots entertain us? Absolutely not. Because there's a third option. A path that doesn't reject the tech, but doesn't surrender to it either. Let's talk now about the Centaur model, the future of the professional. In chess, there's a term called the Centaur. In the 90s, after the AI Deep Blue beat the world champion Garry Kasparov, everyone thought human chess was dead. But then, something interesting happened. They started holding freestyle tournaments. In these tournaments, you could play as a human, you could play as an AI, or you could play as a team, human plus AI. Guess who won? It wasn't the strongest AI, and it certainly wasn't the strongest human. The winner was a team of amateur humans using mediocre AIs, but using them perfectly. The humans provided the strategy and the intuition. The AI provided the tactical calculation and error checking. Together, the Centaur, half human, half machine, beat the supercomputer. My friends, I believe that this is your future. The future of art and creativity isn't AI versus human. It's human with AI versus human without AI. Let me give you some real-life examples of what a creative Centaur looks like. Let's talk about the Centaur writer. A Centaur writer doesn't say, ChatGPT, write this article for me. That produces generic, boring garbage. Instead, the Centaur uses AI as a research assistant and a sparring partner. Hey, AI, I'm writing about the history of coffee. Give me 10 weird facts about coffee in the 17th century. Hey, AI, here's my draft. Critique the logic. Where's my argument weak? Hey, AI, I'm stuck on this headline. Give me 20 variations. The human provides the voice, the taste, the emotional core. The AI provides the raw material, the synonyms, the structure. The result? You write faster, deeper, and more accurately than you could alone. And to be honest, I do that all the time, especially with the magazine articles that I post on my website every single day. I can definitely say that I am a Centaur writer when it comes to my English Plus magazine. And you can be the judges. You can go to the website, check the articles for yourselves, and tell me whether you like them or not. But anyway, that was about the Centaur writer. How about the Centaur designer? A Centaur designer doesn't just prompt make a logo. They sketch the concept by hand. They feed that sketch into the AI to generate 50 variations of texture and lighting. They pick the best one, bring it into Photoshop, and refine it with their human eye. They use the AI to do the tedious work, removing backgrounds, resizing, generating patterns, so they can focus on the creative direction. The key word here is direction. In the age of AI, we are all becoming art directors. When you use Midjourney, you are the director. The AI is the cameraman, the lighting crew, and the set designer. But if the director has no vision, the movie will suck. The AI can generate pixels, but it cannot generate taste. It cannot generate intent. It doesn't know why a sad story needs a somber color palette. You do. Well, my friends, I want to close this episode by focusing on what the AI cannot do. And here we're going to talk about the gap where humans still win. Because despite all the hype, there are massive gaps in its capability. And those gaps are where your value lies. Let's talk first about context and subtext. Now, AI is terrible at subtext. It is very literal. If you tell a joke that relies on a specific cultural nuance of your hometown in 1999, the AI won't get it. Human communication is 90% unsaid. It is the raised eyebrow. It's the shared history. AI doesn't have history, it has data. There's a big difference. And number 2 is truth and vulnerability. Why do we listen to a song about heartbreak? Not because the melody is mathematically perfect. We listen because we know the singer actually got their heart broken. We connect with the shared human suffering. If an AI writes a song about heartbreak, it is a simulation. It is fake. We crave vulnerability. We crave the flaws that prove a human made it. The most valuable content of the future will be content that is deeply, aggressively personal. Stories that only you could tell. And 3, let's talk about the edge cases. AI is trained on the average of the internet. It is great at creating average, mainstream stuff. It is the king of mediocrity. But it is bad at the weird, the new, the avant-garde. If you want to succeed, you need to be weird. You need to go to the edges where the data doesn't exist yet. You need to do things that haven't been done a million times before. So, where do we stand? The new renaissance is here. It is messy, it is scary, it is legally complicated. But it is also an invitation. For the first time in history, the barrier between idea and reality is gone. If you can imagine it, you can see it, you can build it. You don't need to spend 10 years learning to render light on a sphere to make a beautiful image. But, and this is the big but, you still need to have something to say. The tools have changed, but the job of the artist remains the same. To make us feel something, to tell the truth, to hold up a mirror to society. Don't run from these tools. Play with them, break them, use them. Become a centaur. Because the artists who learn to ride this beast will define the culture of the next century. And the ones who refuse, they will be left fighting a war with a paintbrush against a laser. In the next episode, my friends, we're going to leave the art studio and enter the hospital, and the gym, and the cyborg lab. We're going to talk about the upgrade required, the transhumanist dream. We're talking about Neuralink. We're talking about editing your DNA. We're talking about the quest to live forever. If you think AI changing art is crazy, wait until you hear how it's going to change your actual body. And now, before I leave you, let me tell you about the key takeaways from this episode. Before you head back to your canvas or your keyboard, here are the tools for your kit. Remember, it's not magic, it's math. Generative AI is a prediction engine, a stochastic parrot, and concept blender, latent space. It doesn't know anything. It just predicts patterns. And remember, we talked about the copyright gray zone. We are in a legal limbo. The tech is moving faster than the law. Expect chaos, but operate as if the tools are here to stay. And remember, don't be a user, be a centaur. Don't let AI replace you. Use it to enhance your workflow. Combine human intuition with machine speed. And remember, taste is going to be the new skill. When execution is free, curation is king. Your value is no longer just making the thing, but knowing what thing to make and why. And finally, remember that humanity is the premium feature. In a world of synthetic content, your personal story, your flaws, and your vulnerability are your unique selling points. Well, that was everything for today's episode. I'm Coach Danny. This is the AI Horizon. Go make something beautiful today, and I'll see you again in the next episode.